Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Prog Report podcast. A very special episode here. We're going to revisit something we did a few years ago. I think it was back in 2018 by now. We're going to do another fantasy band draft. And returning is our previous winner, as we declared. Kyle Fagala is back.
Yep, and I have the trophy right here. This little guy, I feel like he's in perfect drumming position, or perhaps to be playing like a Wurlitzer or something. But yeah, my team Getty jiggy with it, took home the gold last time, and so
Yes,
I'm
it was
just
a
excited to be back.
Hard fought draft. Victor Giol is back.
Hi, everybody. And just to clarify, his so-called victory, he just happens to have a bigger staff than I do. So congratulations, but let's see what happens this time.
They were all forced to vote multiple times.
Also joining us is somebody new to the podcast, but a good friend of the Prog Report and somebody that's taken pictures for us at various Morse Fests and concerts. And if you've seen the Neil Morse podcast that he does, he's always holding up a special mug, something like this. And, we get them personalized. Oh. And so these are all courtesy of our good friend Jon Fiala, who's joining us here as well.
Thanks for having me, guys. Nice to be here.
Yeah.
Mike Portnoy Forum admin, Jon Fiala.
That as well. That's really really prestigious. But I can't believe we haven't had you on the podcast in all this time. It's pretty bad on our part. We apologize.
That's quite all right. It's a pleasure to be here, though. I've always enjoyed everything that you guys have been putting out on the podcast, and happy to be here.
Yeah, and we should also mention that Jon is educating the youth of America with progressive rock at his school where he teaches, where he makes them listen to the various things that we talk about on this podcast. But he's doing the work. He's keeping hope alive.
Yeah, educating the future is what I say.
That's right. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, I think last time we kept it to just prog musicians. I don't specifically remember who we all picked. I have some vague recollection of who was on my team and somewhat. So, but I think we're going to open it up to sort of any rock musician, alive or dead, and 5 spots. So we're going to go 1 singer, 1 guitar player, 1 lead guitar player, I should say, 1 bassist, 1 drummer, and then the 5th slot can be a second guitarist or keyboardist if we want. And you can pick them in any order. And obviously, once a person's drafted, they are not available for anyone else to pick. So that's what we're going to do. And then we want you guys that listen to the picks to let us know who you think had the better band, and that is how we will determine the winner. So. What we're going to do is we're going to let Kyle, who picked last time and our defending champion, we're going to let him go first. Jon, you can go second. Victor, you can go third, and I'll go fourth. And then it'll be kind of a snake draft. We'll go back and forth. We'll do it that way. Are we cool? All right. Kyle, so where are we starting off with round 1?
Man, I could not be more excited to have the first pick of this draft. In fantasy football, as far as I know, never had the first pick at any point. I will never have.
Well, you've won like 5 trophies in fantasy football. So.
I did win 4 years in a row, so I usually have that last pick, and so you get to double dip. It's not a bad spot. But for this draft, I really wanted to have the first pick because for me, if you're picking a fantasy rock band, anybody's an option. The first pick has to be, in my opinion, the most important person in the band. And as much as a drummer, I hate saying that, it is, for me, the singer. I think the lead vocalist makes the biggest difference in the band, and I feel like I'm going to crush Roy's soul here. But I have to take the man with the biggest range, the most eclectic of voices, and the greatest performer of all time, Freddie Mercury. I have to take Freddie. You got to take Freddie.
That's a surprise from you.
How is that a surprise? If there was another first choice, I don't know what it would be.
Obviously, Freddie's... I figured he'd go since we opened it up outside of Prague. Someone would pick him in here because we all are humongous fans. But I thought for sure you'd go drums or something like that. So that is.
Hey, I'm more than just a drummer.
Yes.
And I think Freddie Mercury, from a marketing perspective, okay, we got to sell some records here. He's huge, right? He's huge right
That's
now.
Right.
It's huge. He will lock my band into a position of being amazing. So,
best singer of all time for me, hands down. Incredible
and
songwriter,
plays the piano and a
great
songwriter,
piano player.
So I want to give a shout out he doesn't need a shout out because he has, I think, several million followers on YouTube. But Rick Beato recently did, from his series What Makes a Song Great,
Yes,
he
I
did
saw
do
that.
the Bohemian Rhapsody. And when you watch that, and he breaks down the song and he explains, different music theory behind it and everything else. But Brian May is simultaneously doing an interview, and it's really cool. And the number one thing that I got out of it is that song was like significantly put together by Freddie Mercury. So not only does he play the piano, and he plays it so well, and not only does he have a legendary, vocal range, and just the skill is amazing there, but the compositional side is, arguably probably the top song that, if you were to say Prog and somebody says, what's that? Well, Bohemian Rhapsody is,
You could show them that and it works.
It's
the popular song. So
I mean, look, it's gone through many generations of people discovering it, and I think that'll be forever, just like the Beatles or one of those other bands. So it's amazing. It's very cool.
yeah,
So-
Kyle gets this thing rolling.
Yeah,
with,
nice pick,
with
man.
a
Great.
strong player.
Can't go wrong there.
Excellent.
Okay, John. So you get the second pick. Where are you going?
I am going to go back to my very first concert back in 1982. And the band that really kind of got me into going to concerts and just been my all-around top band for all these years, and that would be Rush. And then I'm going to go with Mr. Neil Peart, God rest his soul. But just seeing him as many times as I have, that's the band I've seen the most. I think maybe Neil Morse is coming up on that pretty soon. But
Is Rush like your favorite band? Would you say?
Rush has been my favorite band since the 1980s, I'd say. But then the sleeper ones lately have been all the stuff that Neil and Mike have done together. But I gotta secure him while I can.
Yeah, for sure.
So
He's
how
one of
old
those
were you?
musicians. He's one of those musicians that every year, if we did this draft, he'd go in the first round.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, and the fact that it's opened up to all genres and he still goes first round is pretty amazing. You could argue, I think we actually had a no Queen rule the last time we did this, I think. Well, we've done that before because they're sort of like
Could have been.
Prog adjacent or whatever you want to say, Prog plus or something. But Neil is going to go in any conversation, which is incredible. Hey, I want to know how old you were in 1982 and what was the first song of that tour? Did they start with Subdivisions on that tour, or what did they?
It was actually the concert that I went to was the release date of Signals. So there's not many people that knew many of the Signals songs, but they did start with Spirit of Radio.
Okay.
And then they did Tom Sawyer second.
Wow.
So that was back, but they weren't closing with that. But very memorable show, definitely.
Gosh, I can't even imagine.
That's pretty awesome. All right, Vic, your first pick. I still don't know where I'm going with mine. I have no idea.
I'm trying to vary it up quite a bit, but there's been a theme to the last several podcasts that I've done. And as I was thinking of people to add to this band, there was just a common thread of Shocker being really heavy. I'm going to go to Progressive Nation at Sea. I had heard of this band, through YouTube and through just some crazy stuff that they play. But the second show that I saw on that ship after Transatlantic, went over to this little club and saw Animals as Leaders. And so my first pick is going to be this generation's virtuoso guitarist that brought in 8 strings, so a whole different level of guitar playing, and not just the genty heavy stuff, but he just brings so much variety on an instrument where he even now has custom made his own, he has his own guitar company. And so Tosin Abasi is my first pick as guitarist. Wow. And just, in my opinion, second to none when it comes to, progressive metal, rock, gent, you name it, he can do it all.
Very cool.
Nice pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I went to see him together once, right? And I remember it's just like watching, I think we said this, it's like watching an alien play guitar. Like, it doesn't look like his fingers are moving, and there's 8 million notes. It's just a cool thing. The way he plays is like, he's awesome. It's amazing.
You're going to have 2 bass players now too, because he's basically like playing bass and guitar at the same time.
Right.
That's right.
So
yeah, they're great.
Double bass.
All right, cool. So that puts me up. All right, so yeah, I think I'm gonna go kind of unexpected for me, but I feel good about this pick. I think, and sort of in light of this band going back on tour for the first time in I don't know, many years, 14, 15 years, and seeing the videos and just I've started going back and listening to the music again. Not that I ever really stopped, but um, it's been I've really been moved by watching the videos and reminiscing with the songs. It's been a just a really important band for me my whole life, and so I'm gonna go for vocals. I'm gonna go Phil Collins.
Wow.
And you get to sort of also can play the drums, dual
And tambourine
on
at the
on
same
tour.
time. Don't forget about that.
And look, growing up, I mean, I've sort of he's a musician that's been in everything I've listened to like my whole life up until the last maybe 10 years where he's kind of stopped. But I mean, from the 80s through the mid 2000s, you couldn't get away from Phil Collins, and I'm a big fan of his solo work. I like that kind of stuff occasionally. I love the 80s Genesis stuff, some of it more than others, but the 70s records are amazing. He's a fantastic frontman, engaging and funny, an incredible drummer. I mean, I like that there's more appreciation now for him because he was really kind of people got annoyed by Phil Collins after, during a period. It was
Yeah.
like, I just don't want to see him anymore. But I don't know. I'm glad to see, even as he's struggling with his health and vocally or whatever, people are sort of sympathetic to it and realizing what a genius and what a talent. And I think that's been pretty cool. So, and it's brought me back to it a little bit. So that's where I'm going.
So if you've not read, which he was on my team last time as a drummer, so
Right.
it's a great pick, of course. I have to give you that. His memoir, Not Dead Yet. There's
Yeah,
actually
a great book.
The audiobook version of it, he narrates, and it made me appreciate him even more. I mean, there was a period there where he was arguably the biggest pop star in the world for a year or two. He was like the entertainment director for Princess Diana. Like, I mean, he did everything.
He did everything. I mean, he played with Led Zeppelin. His own thing was producing Eric Clapton records, like, in movie. It was nuts. Honestly, it was crazy what he was doing in the 80s. It was insane.
Yep.
And I had a lot of students that love Phil Collins, and I'd tell them, yeah, it was great when he was in Genesis, and they go, what? So-
Right. So that allows me to get the second. We're going back now, right? Now I pick
Yep.
again.
Snaking.
Boy, this is interesting. Well, I don't think I had this guy on my team last year. So last time rather, because I think I had Petrucci as my guitarist, but I'm gonna go with my guitar hero of all time, Steve Morse, which is
Oh,
just sitting right there for me.
I know. John's a big fan. I know that hurts John.
that was my number one there, but we'll get it.
No, your number one was Neil Peart.
Yeah, you could have had
My
him.
next one.
Guitarist for me, it's not so much of an order, but it's always basically Steve, John Petrucci, Brian May. I'd put up there maybe in the top 3, just out of sort of favorites. But I have to give a special shout out, and just because I happened to listen to this record today, and I actually was going to mention it to you guys, but I went back and I listened to Porno Graffiti today, after not listening to it forever and ever. I mean, I don't know that there's a better guitar record. I swear to God. Anyway,
The last chord of Get the Funk Out. That's the whole reason I have subwoofers in my car, because of that last little bit right there.
Wait, did someone pick Nuno, or what's going on?
No,
no,
Where did that come
I was
from?
listening to it today. I went Steve Morse with my guitar, but I was just listening to it today.
What happened?
Complete tangent.
I
apologize.
just have to say, I was tasked with trying to see if I could sing more than words this week, and the conclusion was no, I cannot. And I tried. That song is insanely high. Anyway,
That's very funny. All right, Vic, your second pick.
Oh goodness.
Vic's second pick.
My second pick. All right. I am kind of knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. One of the guys that is usually on the podcast, and he's not on this podcast, I'm pretty sure that he's going to appreciate my next pick. I'm picking a vocalist who's very good, in keyboards as well, and composes a lot of stuff. And his voice to me is so unique. It is so unlike anything that's out there. And this is Einer Solberg from Leprous.
So you picking him for keyboards or singing?
Picking him for singing. He can't
Okay.
play the keyboards. I'm picking him for singing because I am a big fan of Ross Jennings. I am a huge fan of Haken. I love his voice, but there's just something about Einar's range and just the purity of how he can shift from one octave to another. The intervals in the melody lines that he puts together are just absolutely superhuman.
Yeah, he's crazy.
And he can sing any genre. If you want him to do electronica, if you want him to do, I mean, his voice sounds like it's auto-tuned. So I like the fact that he's in a band that can play stuff that's so heavy. You know, they have 8-string guitars. They have, you know, they just really cover the whole gambit of the sound spectrum. But seeing them live, he is just every bit of that you hear in the studio. That's exactly how he is live. Nice guy, but his vocals are just absolutely superhuman.
Great choice. He's one of today's best vocalists for sure. Don't disagree at all. All right, John, your second pick.
All right. The Steve Morse threw me off now, so I'm going to have to switch over to my keyboard guy, and I'm going to have to go where the top keyboardists around nowadays. You got to have Jordan on your team. So Jordan Rudess for my keyboard player, but it sounds like a guitar, so you can go ahead and put that as like a second guitar also if you'd like to.
Okay, great. So that's your keyboard second.
That's my keyboard utility guy. Yeah.
Right. Cool. Yeah, Jordan's the best.
Yeah, not only can it sound like a guitar, it can sound like, gosh, I don't know, some sort of space alien. Really,
great
whatever you want it to
songwriter,
sound
just
like.
phenomenal. Yep.
Yeah, when he came on board, that was just solidified that, you know, Dream Theater at the upper echelon of that category there. So really nice.
He will also add a lot of very interesting percussive sounds to your band.
Mhm.
So he can also bring that to the table.
Absolutely.
Yep. And new Dream Theater album coming out soon, so something to keep an eye out for. All right, Kyle, your second pick.
I feel like I'm working from a different playbook here. You open this up to everything, right? We're just making best band we can possibly make, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess obviously that's subjective. That was not a criticism.
You're talking the prog head, so I think we're gonna have we're gonna not.
I mean, I love prog, but like we're talking about history of all time here, potential. They don't have to be living or dead. Like, and no, I'm not going to take Mozart, but like, I feel like there's some like really big names here.
Plenty of picks. All
right, plenty of picks to go. I got picks 8 and 9, and for me, I already said lead singer is most important. I mean, you can't get around that. That's the most characteristic portion of a band, and that's what most influences whether I love a band or not, I think. But second most important as a drummer is going to be the rhythm section. So I've got to piece together my rhythm section now. And check out this rhythm section, okay? On the drums, in my opinion, the greatest rock drummer of all time. And yes, I'm a huge, huge Mike Portnoy fan, but even Mike would agree. If I could put John Bonham in my band, I'm putting John Bonham in my band. I'm sorry, Mike. Mike, you can come backstage and you can hang out with us, but I'm putting John in this band. Okay, so John Bonham going last pick of the second round. Nice. My Lord. Okay, he was the drummer for Led Zeppelin. If you're out there wondering. I love John Bonham. What a huge sound. What a technically gifted drummer. Like added so much to the drum lexicon and can play anything. He can do shuffles. He's really the best groove-based drummer of rock music ever, and he's so cool. Now he needs to go easy on the drinking to be in this band, but he can do it. He can do it.
Make him sign a contract.
He can throw a TV out a window. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think also it's going to turn out where like basically everyone in my band is dead. But anyway, that's
I was going to say
but you know, So we're bringing them back. We're going to fill these stadiums. Okay. So then my next pick that follows, which is the first pick of the third round. Again, I'm building my rhythm section, which to me is the biggest thing, you know.
So help you if you steal who I want to pick for bass.
I might. I have actually. Bass is, for me, the deepest category. There's so many directions I could go. But I want to strengthen up my vocal section with a really, I don't think he's an underrated bass player. Certainly not a prog guy, but from one of my favorite bands and just a super cool guy. He's going to be singing a lot of songs. I'm going to go with Sting. I'm going with Sting.
Wow.
Yeah. So with Sting, I get an excellent lead vocalist, but also a next level background vocalist. Obviously, super gifted songwriter and just an incredible bass player and the coolest guy in music.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take Sting circa 1983. I'm going to take like Synchronicity Sting.
Synchronicity Sting, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Sting's great.
A little high
yeah.
on the ego. A little high on the
Good
ego,
pick.
but it's okay. Yeah.
Wow, that would have been cool. I think that would have been, you know, at some point you could have seen Freddie Mercury and Sting doing something. I don't know if did they ever? I don't think
We're out of the
so.
world.
No,
Okay.
Well, I don't count.
let's not count
wasn't on
that. I mean, they
All
were
right.
both.
I'll
Okay,
get
well,
some.
this is cool. You got it, man. Your band is killer. That's good.
I'm playing to
John.
win.
Your pick.
My turn.
Yep.
All right. I am going to go. Let's see here. I think I'm going to have to go bass player too. And this is a bass player that influenced many people, including Geddy Lee. But I'm going to go to try to not to have people with in the same band or haven't played together. I'm going to go with Mr. Christopher Squire. And he was not picked at all last time around. So
Which was crazy.
I know. I thought about that too.
How is that possible?
That he wasn't picked last time, so we got to give him a shout out there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. One of the best. I mean, you've got, you know, Kyle's got the classic rock band. You have the prog band for sure.
Classic
Yeah.
prog.
And I got a nice backing vocalist too in that.
That's right. But yeah, Chris Squire's amazing. You're two. You got one out of your three is still alive. So
Oh, that's true.
yeah.
Squire is the kind of guy that amongst bassists would make the list, whether it's prog or it's not, or it's what. I mean, obviously he really changed
Phenomenal
the
player.
landscape
Phenomenal. Yep.
in terms of tone and everything. He's on my short list. I cannot believe he did not get picked last time. I can't be held guilty for that because I took Geddy first round.
No,
but-
we all thought Jeff was going to take him, and he
Yeah.
didn't. And
Right.
we were all almost not taking him because we figured, well, Jeff's going to just take him, and then he didn't. All right, Vic, your third pick.
Yeah, I think we got after I think including this one, we got 10 musicians left. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Halfway point.
I'm just looking at a list that man, there's going to be a lot of people out there, but I have a purpose to my band, and the first two guys between Townsend and Einer, and the bands that they play and everything else, it's something that is centered around extended range guitars and complex rhythms, and sticking with I'm trying to go with obviously the metal guy on most podcasts that we do. I'm going with Blake Richardson from Between the Buried and Me as my drummer. If anybody that listens to Between the Buried and Me, the intensity of any of their albums starts with just Blake's nonstop, whether it's blast beats, whether it's groove beats, whether it's straightforward metal. This guy is in control all over the place. Watching him live, he is just flawless when it comes to playing this stuff. And it is not easy what they play. And it is not, short. These songs are long, they're intense. And just for the heaviness that I'm looking for, I think he fits right into my plan. So welcome on board, Blake Richardson.
Great drummer.
Your band would be interesting. I mean, that's a really modern, heavy band.
Oh, yeah.
And you could see these guys
Here's
playing
the-
together. It would
This
work.
could be a band.
Yeah.
It can't happen. So
Inside Out.
Get Inside Out on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all
Inside Out,
alive.
he's
I mean,
start
that's
working on
like a
that.
miracle.
So yeah, that'd be super cool.
Very cool. So Kyle, I thought you were totally gonna pick my
Almost
next
did.
pick,
Yeah.
and so I'm gonna go also bassist, and I think you know who probably I'm gonna go with, and I
Maka.
think. I mean, my favorite bass player, honestly, I think he's
Oh.
amazing and one of the greatest songwriters of all time, and phenomenal singer, and can really lift this band to the next level. So I'm going to go with the greatest, Paul McCartney, on
Okay. Yeah.
bass.
Yeah, no doubt. It was between Sting and Paul McCartney. Ultimately, I wanted Sting's range, but how can you go against Paul?
Yeah.
I mean, you suddenly have locked up historic melodies for your band.
Yes, my man, we could write some hooks with these
Phil
guys.
and Paul.
Oh,
Yeah, Phil and Paul and Steve on guitar. That would be amazing.
I
That'd
don't
be a
know.
lot of
Late
fun.
80s Phil and Paul goes a little saccharine. I don't know. There's some rough moments in there.
Paul's brought his A game the last few albums. I mean,
Yeah.
he's really turned it around, and he's
Phil and
that's
Paul had
did
to
you
have played together, right?
what's that?
Hasn't Phil and Paul have played together at some point?
Boy, I feel like that had to have happened at some point in the 80s because
Aren't they both?
Phil was
Are they
playing with
both knighted?
everyone.
Are they both knighted?
That I don't know.
I know it's Sir Paul
Paul
McCartney.
is.
Probably, I have no
Mhm.
idea.
I don't know if Phil Collins is or not. Hey,
Um,
Roy, I forgot to ask you something earlier when you have picked Phil Collins. When, because Kyle was very specific as to the sting that he was looking for at synchronicity time. Do you have a specific Phil Collins as far as, because
Good
I know
question.
when you got into him, but what is it?
I'd go early 80s Phil, I think. That was, In the Air Tonight, Mama, where he was like really confident in singing and just could scream. That's my favorite thing of him is when he can yell. It's really like good, powerful singing. I think that's probably where I'd go.
Okay, very cool.
And let's see, boy.
You go again, but
I just have to say too of Paul McCartney, he's an incredible bass player. Like I don't think he gets quite enough credit for that part of what he does. Like his bass lines on Beatles stuff.
That's the thing. I
unreal.
mean, for me, it's not that he, slaps or plays 8-string basses. It's the melodies that he's playing on bass. They're more inventive than just about anybody. And they are a whole nother song structure going on to all these legendary songs that if you remove the vocals or what's going on and you just listen to it, he's playing on bass. He's playing a whole nother song.
Yeah.
And sometimes in an odd time signature, it's completely off what everyone else is doing. And if you watch that Rick Rubin documentary that they did, they pinpoint all of that. And Rick Rubin is marveling at it, like you're not even playing what the rest of the song is doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool. He's
Yeah.
really like next level bass player.
Which
So,
he
yeah.
was super
nice.
influenced by James Jamerson, who I almost picked for this just as like a kind of wild card pick. But man, I love the bass. I wish in another life I'm a bass player, but we'll see.
That's something I learned really young was to pinpoint what someone was doing on the bass. I've always found that really fascinating. I like that. All right, so drums, man, we picked this guy last time. I didn't pick him last time, but I actually think he'd love being in this band like crazy.
okay.
You think?
Oh,
So I'm gonna
it's-
go Portnoy. I'm gonna go Mike Portnoy for my drummer.
You'll have to ask him that question too.
Just cause, I mean, what can we say? He's all our favorite drummers on this thing practically, and amazing drummer. But he could fit something like this that isn't proggy and play within what something like this is doing, and can even add really good backing vocals nowadays. He's become a really solid, dependable vocalist. So yeah, and of course, obviously, history playing with Steve, but I think Phil and Paul with Mike would be pretty cool. So I'm gonna go Mike Portnoy.
You said he could fit in with this band, or he'd want to play with this band. I think he'd want to play with any of these bands, but
Well, that's for
you know,
sure. Yeah.
but yeah, fair enough.
I think if Portnoy could respond to this video, because I've heard them say this many times before, and in all the cool collaborations that he's gotten to do, he always says, "This is my make-a-wish, come true." And him playing on the band that you put together so far, absolutely, that would be amazing.
Now
for
I
him.
have to decide with my last pick if I'm going second guitarist or keyboardist, and I honestly haven't decided yet. So I'm just waiting to see what happens.
This band is possible, Roy. This is a possibility. This band of yours,
Hey,
they're all
Paul
live.
McCartney can sit and tickle the ivories for you. So,
So I was gonna piece him in as a keyboardist if no one took him there as a bassist. So anyway,
Right. Yeah. Okay. Vic.
Oh goodness. All right, so this guy's one of my favorite guitarists, and he's very active nowadays. And every single style that he plays, I just find that he's just so creative, and his influences are mainly non-guitarist. He does play the 8-string guitar, and he does some great compositions. And this is Mr. Richard Henschel from Halen. And even though I'm putting him in as a guitarist, I know that he can also play keyboard. So I got a couple of guys that are very flexible in what they can do. But the thought of Blake Richardson keeping up with Tosin Bassi and Richard Henschel, and then having Einer just deliver some crushing vocals, I am well on my way to have the next.
I think we need to pitch this band to a record label. Like, I'm not even kidding.
It's
a really good band.
Can I be the fifth member, please?
I'll do the tambourine. But yeah, I am well on my way of accomplishing my happy little experiments here. I think it's turning out.
I think you've really you have put some thought into this band. Like, it actually is a band that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it just, as a bonus, it can happen, because, everybody thankfully is alive and well. So.
Fantastic. John, your fourth pick.
All right. I have to pick a guitarist at this point, I believe. And I got a couple that I'm eyeing right now. I think I'm going to have to go with somebody that did play with Jordan at one point, and I'm going to have to go with a kind of utility guy. It's Mr. Eric Gillette.
Okay.
We're going to go with him on guitar, but he can do drums if Neil needs a little break. We can do all sorts of keyboards. He's just all around, and singing. My gosh, he's got it all. So I have to put him on guitar. Actually,
He really is. It's like the most like the Swiss Army knife of right. I mean, he can do everything. Like, amazing.
Yeah.
Very few musicians like that, honestly. I know they talk about like, guys like Prince or whoever that are multi-talented. Like, very few are as good at all the key instruments as Eric is, for real.
And
Exactly.
I'll add, not only does he have that, Swiss Army ability as far as the instrumentation, he also has that Swiss Army ability in any sort of genre. He's a bit of a chameleon when it comes to his voice and his guitar playing. And just if you go to his YouTube channel and watch the covers that he's done, he tries to do straightforward covers, whether it's Metallica or whether it's Journey, or whether it's Led Zeppelin, and he pulls that off. And you're talking about bands that are iconic and songs that have a certain sound on vocals, on drums, and he's able to accomplish that. Outside of the fact that he can also be your producer and your sound mixer, because he's awesome as doing that as well.
And a nice guy too.
And a heck of a guy.
Heck of a guy.
Okay, Kyle, you got back-to-back picks. Your fourth and fifth.
I'm actually finding these to be the most difficult picks. I just feel like my band is going to look so funny next to Vic's. Like, it could not be more different.
Don't open for each other then.
I'm sticking to my template here. I'm trying to, again, build the best rock band of all time. And there's no pretense in that statement. I'm just, anyone's an option. So if I'm talking keyboards, I'm going to go with someone who's an incredible performer, an incredible piano player.
You're going to steal it. Oh, man, I was going to go.
A heck of a songwriter,
Yeah.
and an amazing singer, and one of the best concerts I've ever seen. This is Elton John.
I was going to pick Elton. I can't believe you did that.
The Rocket Man.
And let's say he has some like prog adjacent tendencies.
Yeah.
So, we're going to pull out Funeral for a Friend and, all that
Totally.
kind of good stuff. I'm thrilled to get Elton John at the end of the fourth round. So the least important instrument, as you know, if you're keeping tabs, is guitar. I mean, anybody can play it. So do I have to have a guitar?
You know
Do
what
we
your
have to pick
band
a
is?
guitar?
Your band is the Avengers.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, the
Seriously.
Avengers. That's not a bad band name. Let's see, the Avengers. I like it. So for guitar, man, I could go in a million different directions. I feel like at this point, I've got Freddie, Sting, and Elton who can sing. So I don't really need another singer. Man, I don't know.
Boy, you
Yeah,
stole
I
my
think
pick.
I think
was
I'm
gonna
I
go
want to
there.
bring in some really like solid rock guitar. So this is not who I thought I was going to pick, but I'm going to go with Eddie Van Halen, who's still available. Eddie Van Halen. Have you heard of Eddie Van Halen?
You know what? You went.
I've put together the best band of all time.
Yeah,
You really do.
you really did.
I thought for a moment that you were gonna go. I thought for a moment you were gonna go Hendrix.
Hendrix was on my short list. I mean, I will
God.
name off the guitar players that I had left. There's like, it's just
Oh, man.
ridiculous. That's what the thing about the guitar player in a fantasy draft. Like, I mean, there's 20 guys. You could just plug them in. It's just guitar. No big deal.
You know, honestly, you went with the best person ever at their instrument, all down the line almost. I mean,
Just about.
arguably maybe Sting on bass. I might have gone. I thought you'd go Paul McCartney, but
I'm kind of sad I didn't take
But,
Paul there, but
ridiculous band. Props. That's really something.
yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to hear them
If
never
the
play together.
if
They'll
the Prog-
fill stadiums, though. That's for sure.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. No doubt.
The Prog Report classic rock fan base, you got all their votes. So
I don't know if I have any other votes, but I just want to say of Eddie Van Halen, my one regret of Eddie is I wish there had been a period where he had stepped into some prog somehow. Like, I mean, there's prog moments in Van Halen's catalog, and it's great. It doesn't have to be prog. He's incredible. Changed the instrument. Love Eddie. No one's going to disagree with that. But I wish there had been like a moment where he'd like done a prog album or something. I don't know. Maybe that's silly.
So during the Van Hagar years, the album Balance, there's a song in there called Feelings.
Yeah.
That is such a dynamic song, and it starts clean tone, and it has such a great big chorus in it.
I think Loss of Control is sort of proggy in a way. I mean,
Seventh Seal was always
Yeah.
That's
and
another one.
Pleasure Dome. They had their moments. There's in a few of those towards
did.
the end. The Sammy Hagar stuff more.
For me, Van Halen is top guitarist of all time. I am biased because I did, see him live, and I did get to experience him firsthand. So I didn't have the opportunity for somebody like
Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix or Eric Clapton soon, but I actually get to go watch a concert soon about him. So with him, so I'm looking forward to that. Man,
All right.
Kyle, good job, man.
John,
Very good choice
John, who
there.
you got?
All right, I need a vocalist, and I think back to again growing up, and the very first album I bought in 1977.
Yeah, totally where you're going. with this one.
1977. Heck of a keyboard guy, heck of a handstand on top of the keyboards, and we're talking Mr. Steve Walsh.
Hello.
You can't beat Steve Walsh in the late 70s as far as like his vocals were just spot on every single time. Granted, towards the end of his time in Kansas, it kind of dwindled a little bit, but still, that listening to those the late 70s, early 80s Steve Walsh albums with Kansas. I mean, all of the classic lineup of Kansas. It's just always ring true in my mind.
Great
Amazing.
pick.
Yeah.
I mean, the vocal range is insane on Steve Walsh, and he's not. God, I feel like he's not talked about when you mention all the great singers. He almost
Right.
rarely comes up, but those big records right there in the middle of the 70s there were like, it's just crazy good. Like the singing is insane, and a great songwriter, great keyboard player, like you said. Phenomenal.
It's interesting you say that, Roy, because considering that one of rock's most famous songs, Dust in the Wind, he is the singer on that. And So he definitely has the fame from that standpoint. But yeah, it's kind of quiet when when people start putting, best of, maybe not necessarily what people go to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, those lists are stupid. Rolling Stones just came out with Rolling Stone magazine just came out with a new list, and ugh. So
Yeah.
I'm done looking at those lists. Steve Walsh is on my list of vocalists for what it's worth,
Very good.
John. But Freddie Mercury was available, so
Right.
Now, one vocalist, since you already have all your vocalists, one vocalist that was going to be a real sleeper for me, and you might be surprised on this one, is Doug Pinnick of King's X. His vocals, it wouldn't make sense too much in my lineup, I don't think. But as far as going a different route, he was one that I was really heavily thinking about.
I consider Doug for bass. I think he's a great guy to like piece into a band, and he's super cool. I like people that are cool on stage. No one has longer arms or a lower bass position than Doug Pinnick. Literally.
Yeah, great pick. Okay, Vic, your bassist.
So unfortunately for my band, this bassist cannot join this band because this bassist tragically passed away last year. And when I was thinking of which bass player to add in, and I was trying to accomplish something where two guys had not played together officially in a band that had recorded something. And this is a bass player that in every single little project, or if he was a session guy, he was a guest musician. Anytime he would play bass, not only did he have the chops to keep up with death metal, he also had the soul and the skill to play fretless bass. I am speaking of Cynic's Sean Malone. Sean Malone also played with Chuck Schuldner's Death. He also played with a band called Agora, their first album, which was a demo recorded at a community college studio down in Miami. His bass player chops there are just absolutely crazy. He's done shows with John Wesley. That's where the only time I got to see him live was over at Cruise to the Edge in 2017. He was the bass player for John Wesley's set, and it was so much fun to watch him. He also played in a instrumental project. They had one album called Gordian Knot. Just some really cool stuff out there. So he, if he was still around, just blessing us with some incredible chops and just really just solid, bottom to combine with these other guys would be, I think, something that he would enjoy, he would excel in, and we would just be blown away by that. So I am sorry to say that, the first four guys, we need to get them together on a real band. Got to figure out a bass player that is around to able to contribute. But Sean Malone rounds out my heaviest of heavy metal here we go bands.
There you go.
That's your band name, Heaviest of Heavy. Here we go.
No. That's not. It's remember.
Listen,
we'll get there.
Obviously a perfect fit, if he was alive, but even musically just makes a lot of sense. And a great talent. So
I thought you were taking Cliff Burton there for a second. That's who I thought you were going with.
He was there, but to be honest with you, I really tried to stick with, prog familiar bass players. And
I was thinking who's alive, and the one that makes sense there would be Connor Green from Haken, but you don't want to have two guys from the same band. So I thought that's where you
listen,
go.
I'll throw Dan Briggs in there. If I was going to pick somebody that was alive to play with this, I would pick Victor Wooten. Victor Wooten is one of these guys.
Now you've gone off.
Yeah, what?
Correct. Well, no, it's because I think bass players, at least the bass players that I, John Patitucci, you're talking guys that play fusion. Anthony Jackson is another one. These are guys that play extended range, where they have, more than 4 strings, and they're just absolutely killer. They're not metal, they're not prog, they are, fusion guys, which, then you can say, okay, we can get close enough to that. And Victor Wooten is in a prog metal project called Octavision, in which, please forgive me, I can't remember the guitarist name that put that project together. That escapes my mind, but Victor has played in prog metal type.
I mean, Victor Wooten can play anything. That's
absolutely.
What's interesting is Victor Wooten's who most influenced Townsend Abasi's style of
the thumping
thing.
Yep.
So
You got
we've
it.
come full circle now.
We have
full circle. So
Speaking of full circle, my final pick.
Here we go.
And I was almost gonna go Elton John because I thought it would be a cool fit with my band, and I thought keyboard covers and songwriting and vocals and everything. So I thought that would have been a good fit. But
Come
with
on,
him
Roy.
on the board, I'm gonna
Too
go
late.
guitarist. So I'm gonna go second guitarist, and like I said, full circle from Kyle's first pick. I'm gonna go Mr. Brian May as my second guitar player.
Wow.
And
you now have the band with the highest IQ as well.
Yes, exactly.
high intelligence, just crazy sick with melodies and hooks and harmonies. Pretty much 4 of them can sing, and man, it would be a treat to hear what they could write. That would be a lot of fun. So I mean, yeah, looking at this, I think we have 4 really kind of distinct styles of bands almost, right? I'm going to recap, right? So we got Kyle has Freddie Mercury, John Bonham, Sting, Elton John, and Eddie Van Halen. I mean, that's like the Hall of Fame band of all time. John's very progressive band. I think this is kind of straight up prog. Neil Peart, Jordan Rudess, Chris Squire, Eric Gillette. Props to him for making this podcast on a band. I mean, that's fantastic. He's elevated to the next level there. And Steve Walsh. So, you got a mix of classic and modern, but you're heavy prog. Vic, obviously, we figured he'd go, heavier metal, which he certainly did. Townsend Abasi, Einer Solberg, Blake Richardson, Richard Henschel, and Sean Malone. And then you mine is sort of like a pop prog rock mix. I think it's sort of covers in there. It would be the one to have it would be the one to have a chance at a hit single. I think Phil Collins, Steve Morse, Paul McCartney, Mike Portnoy, and Brian May. So that was fun. And apologies to a lot of the people that you would have expected us to pick. Among them, obviously, Neil Morris, Stephen Wilson, John Petrucci, and so on, all names that were on our previous one, and we sort of decided we left them open to pick for the other people, but we didn't, we wanted to try and go a little bit of a different direction and not repeat exactly the same episode, which we definitely did. So, very cool.
Yeah, how many repeats were there? Just Portnoy?
Well,
Portnoy
Neil
and
Peart,
Neil
Jordan,
Rudess, yeah, okay.
Those 3, I think.
and Steve Morse.
Steve Morse was,
Yeah, just 4. That's good. I'm proud of that. That's good.
yeah.
Do we have any honorable mentions for what it's worth? People that we were right, kind of.
Well, I would say so. I was thinking about this while we were in the middle of doing this.
Yeah.
Jeff Lynne from ELO would be my producer.
Okay.
Which I think would be amazing and perfect fit here. So that's where I would go for my extra pick. There would be for Jeff Lynne to produce it.
Well, as long as we're going with that route, I would go with Nolly Get Good for my
definitely your producer.
Hey, your band must be Nolly. It has to be.
Or Andy Sneap.
Andy Sneap. I shout out to Andy Sneap. His pairing with Dream Theater it's a fantasy matchup for me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going Brian Epstein as a manager. So
you need to. Well, you got to go Roy Thomas Baker as your producer. I feel like.
Oh, there you go. Maybe
Rick Rubin even in there.
Rick Rubin. I don't want Rick Rubin. George Martin, maybe. I love George
Martin. One of those guys. One of those
guys.
One of those classic names.
I don't think I need anyone else, honestly. I need someone to sort the M&Ms, and we're good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
Ready.
And John, you have a 6-member / producer you'd throw in there?
Well, I've boy.
Who's Peter Collins? Peter Collins, right?
Peter Collins would be good for the producer, but I'd be interested in even having Trevor Rabin in there.
Ooh, I know Roy liked that pick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because Trevor my son Trevor is partially named after him. So that's
Oh wow.
that's Trevor's always been I was able to see him back in '83 when Yes was doing one of those big generator tours, and it was that was something special too. So having him as a utility guy all over the place too.
Well, I expected Eddie Van Halen would have been picked before the 5th round, so I did not think I would get him. So I was thinking I would go with either Prince or Pete Townsend, and I have very strong reasons for either one of those being my selection. But alas, I had to take Eddie Van Halen. So
Had to take Eddie
You made
Van
the right,
Halen.
yeah, darn.
Let's write
You
that
made
down
the right choice.
someplace.
Well, but so those were your
Randy
other two
Rhoads.
guitarists was
I had-
Prince and
well, I thought I was going to end up taking Prince just because he could do anything. He's super cool. He's a blistering guitar player. And then Pete Townsend, I like the idea that he can kind of push it in a prog direction. He's an incredible songwriter and he's cool on stage. But then also like Randy Rhoads, like some of these guitar players whose lives were cut too short. Stevie Ray Vaughan would be cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, there's like guitar is like, I was kidding
there's
earlier.
a million ways.
guitar-
I mean, Jimmy Page was in consideration. I almost went Jimmy Page. Steve Clark, Def Leppard, I almost went there. So yeah, there's a lot of guitarists that you could go with.
I think one thing you said earlier was that just imagine what a song from any of these lineups would be like. And that would just be amazing just to think think
Yeah, most of them would be inaudible because it would never happen. But
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a true fantasy with a lot of these. They
No,
can never
but I
even
think
stand
in
to be in the
terms
room
of
together.
looking at the lineups and just seeing like the people that we all picked, I do think fit together in a way for whatever it's worth. Like obviously never can happen all of that, but like you could see a band, you could see that being a band in some universe and then a song coming out of that, whereas I think Freddie Mercury, with Steve Walsh and with Tosin Abasi would be weird and that make no sense. You know what I mean? So I kind of think it worked the way we did it. And I like all these bands. It'd be amazing. This is awesome.
There's going to be a day where AI will allow us to have holographic fantasy bands. You'll walk into a pod and you'll pick your band, and then they'll play a concert for you. And every song, the lyrics will just be like some corporate speak. It'll be like a Coca-Cola commercial or something.
We're probably not too far away from that, honestly.
Yeah, or some political like 1984 Orwellian thing,
If you have stuck around this whole time for this
Which you probably
podcast,
it's sponsored by Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
the real thing.
Well, we want to know your fantasy band. So, list them in comments or email us or on some Facebook post if you see it there. And, let us know what you would pick or whose band you thought was better.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say I think the trophy's staying with me. I think the trophy is going to be here a little bit longer.
You're very, very classic on yours.
Yeah. Maybe
All
too
right. Well,
classic.
I think I'm going to, thanks, guys. This was a fun hang as always.
A lot of fun.
This was a lot of fun. I think we should definitely do it again in a couple of years. We'll repeat the process.
Roy, thanks for having us, buddy. This was great.
It was very cool.
Good time, guys. Always
Thanks for
always
having me.
fun.
I really
And we'll
appreciate
see
it.
you guys, people, if you're watching, progreport.com, reviews, other interviews, news coming up. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube page somewhere. There's a button below somewhere. All right. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.